Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back. So, today we will discuss that producers whose optimum quantity decision we have discussed when he was operating in a product market which is perfectly competitive vis-a-vis when he is going to operate in a product market which is monopoly kind, vis-a-vis when he is going to operate in a product market which is monopolistically competitive kind. All these three alternatives we have already discussed, right, taking the same cost structure of that producer. So, today we will discuss that producer if he goes to a market which is oligopoly in nature, of course product market, the kind of product he is producing, when he is going to sell that product in a market, that market is oligopoly in nature. So, what is oligopoly? We have already mentioned in our last lecture. Oligopoly is basically what kind of market? 4 different types of market we are discussing explicitly in this course. So, you are asking how many sellers are there in the market. First, one seller, if answer is 1, then it is monopoly. If answer is few, then this market is called oligopoly. And when answer is many, then you are asking again one question, right, whether product is similar and differentiated or product is same or homogeneous or identical, right. So, when it is identical product or homogeneous product, it is perfectly competitive market. When similar but differentiated, close substitute to each other kind of thing, then the market is monopolistically competitive, right. So, this quote unquote few number of sellers are there in this market. This few term has a remarkable implication. What is that implication? Implication is that since only few sellers are there, strategic interaction among the sellers, right, what kind of behavior I am taking or what kind of product quantity decision I am choosing vis-a-vis my rival or who are competitors of mine in that market, what kind of production choice or what kind of quantity choice they are deciding, all those things, actually quantity choice, price choice also sometimes, although we will discuss in this course only quantity choice, right, but there are oligopoly models where producers are deciding their price first and then quantity is determined according to the market demand curve, using the market demand curve. So, that we will not discuss here. So, that is why we are telling quantity choice only. So, when I am deciding about my optimum quantity or my profit maximizing quantity, right, I have to be very careful, very particular, I have to take into account what the optimum quantity choice other producers are doing. Other producers means the rivals, the competitors to me who are here in this market, right. And more specifically, we will discuss in this course as duopoly market, D-U-O-P-O-L-Y, duopoly market. Duopoly market is a special type of oligopoly market where this duo number of producers are there, 2 producers are there, duopoly market, and their strategic interaction or what kind of quantity decision I am taking, I have to be very particular, I have to be very careful, I have to be very considerate, and I have to take into account what kind of quantity choice my rival or who the other player is in that same market, his decision I have to consider, because see this duopoly market, I am sure many of you know what kind of this market is in real life. A specific example, say you know that soft drink, So, 2 global giants are there, one is called Pepsi and another is called Coca-Cola, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, you will see that this soft drink, perhaps in your locality some local made soft drink is available, but beyond that whether local made soft drink is available or not does not matter. Product from these 2 companies, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, those products are there. In fact, this Pepsi and Coca-Cola, they are producing same type of commodity, right, and they are the two global giants, worldwide soft drink market, these two producers mainly control. Very here and there some exceptions are there in your local market, my local market, and different people's local market, maybe one or two local brands are available, but other than that these two are the big giants, global giants. Okay. So, this kind of market we will discuss, where two equally, almost equally powerful giants or powerful producers are there, and they are strategically behaving to capture more market share. Okay. Market here, market is market for soft drink. Okay. This market, whatever market share I want to grab, my rival want to grab. So, they are competing to grab as more as possible of the market share. Okay. That is the thing. So, that we will discuss here, profit maximizing decision of a producer who is operating in a duopoly market. Okay. That we will discuss. So, before that discussion, so it is a, we told that this like when we told that large number of sellers are there in a perfectly competitive market, what was the implication? Implication was that since large number of sellers were there, none of them have any worthwhile control on market outcome, on market price, market quantity things. Okay. Only that is why everybody is price taker, and given that price, each of the producer was deciding his or her optimum or profit maximizing quantity choice, right, of the same product, that product, right. So, here this few, what I was telling, few's implication is that few means each of them, each of the producer who are there in the market, each of them have some worthwhile market share or worthwhile control over the market outcome, over the market price decision. Okay. Okay. So, that is the thing, that is the implication of the quote unquote term few sellers are there in this market. So, before that, since we told that strategic interaction across the parties or amongst the parties is very important in this market, right. So, we first introduced another stream of, say, mathematical stream or another tool called game theory. Okay, where strategic interaction plays extremely important role. Okay. So, we will first introduce game theory, few popular game, okay, and game theory related certain terminologies to familiarize ourselves how strategic interaction can play or strategic behavior can play a remarkable role in determining the equilibrium. Okay. Using that knowledge, we will discuss a duopoly market. Since duopoly market we are going to discuss where only two players are there, let us take game only where two participants are there, two players are participating in a game. Okay. Again, in real life oligopoly market, okay, two types of strategic interaction are there, where the participants are deciding simultaneously all the parties, all the players, all the producers who are there, sellers who are there in the market, okay, they are deciding their profit maximizing quantity choice simultaneously. When I am deciding parallelly same time another my rival or not rival always, another competitor, okay, another competitor he is also deciding, another competitor she is also deciding, everybody is deciding their quantity decision simultaneously at the same time. Vis-a-vis, okay, sequential decision making is also there, sequential. Okay, in real life that sequential decision making is also there. Sequential means what? There is a big dada kind of thing, big brother kind of thing in the market who decide first. Okay, and there are so many other producers, not so many, few other producers are there who will decide their profit maximizing choice looking at first this leader what choice he or she is taking. Okay, those kinds of model, oligopolistic model are called leader follower model, where sequential game is involved. So, you can understand, no, this sequential game in computer production industry, right. IBM is a big producer, okay, and a lot of other few other producers are there. Okay, they usually wait for every year's IBM's decision, what kind of quantity IBM is announcing. So that many computers they will produce this year, like that. Okay. So they wait, other followers they wait, or followers means who are the relatively smaller producers of the computer. Okay. So they wait, once IBM announce, then they, depending on their cost structure and all, they decide how much quantity of computer they will produce in that way, right. So that is called sequential game. So in real life oligopoly market, both simultaneous kind of game is involved as well as sequential game is involved, but in our course we will not discuss this sequential game, okay, or any oligopoly model which depends on sequential game we will not discuss in this course. So we will discuss only simultaneous game, okay. So let us introduce game, okay, what is game, okay, more specifically what is a simultaneous game, and we are more specifically focusing here only game of two players, okay, where only two players are playing or are participating, okay. Okay. So here each of the player, we are assuming by default each of the player are rational, okay. Rational means what? Rationality definition we have given very initial first lecture or second lecture, if you can remember. A person or an economic agent will be called rational who deliberately, quite judiciously, quite, what should I say, yes, quite judiciously, quite carefully, okay, they decide, or that agent decide the best alternative for him or her, so that he or she can achieve his goal, okay. So whatever decision I am taking, okay, I very carefully taking that decision, I very judiciously taking that decision, so that it can help me to attain my target, okay. So here when we are going to discuss a game between two players, we are assuming that each of the players are rational, each of the players are rational. So this is the first. So it has some implication. I am rational, suppose me and you are playing, right. So I am rational, you are also rational. Not only that, I know that you are rational, you also know that I am rational. Not only that, I know that you know that I am rational. And exactly, you know that I know that you are rational, okay, and so on, and this way as many steps you can go backward. So why these are important? Because accordingly every player will take the decision, okay, because and we are discussing a full information kind of game, everybody knows everything, okay. So let us take one simple game example. Say suppose usually a game is denoted by a payoff matrix, okay. So like this, what is payoff matrix and what is that? We are coming. Suppose this side, say I am telling Mrs. Column, one person, and this side one person is there, Mr. Row. These two persons are participating in a game. We told that it is a duopoly market thing. So we told that we will consider game where only two participants are playing. So Mr. Row one participant, Mrs. Column is another participant, okay, and each of them has two strategies. Two strategies means I have two opportunities, I can choose this or that. Parallelly, the other party also can choose whatever the two options she or he has before her, okay. And out of this, and we are talking about simultaneous game. So when I am deciding my action, when she is deciding her action, this decision is taken simultaneously at the same time. So depending on that, what I will get and what he will get, that will be determined, that is denoted by this matrix. So suppose Mr. Row has two strategy, two options, say top and bottom. Alternatively, Mrs. Column has also two strategies, say left and right, okay. So suppose, so 4 cells are there, suppose this cell is telling 2, 1, this 2 comma 1 means how to read those numbers. 2 comma 1 means basically if Mr. Row choose top and Mrs. Column choose left, they are choosing simultaneously. Mr. Row a priori does not know that what Mrs. Column is going to choose, whether left or right. Okay. Similarly, Mrs. Column does not know a priori that what Mr. Row is going to choose, whether top or bottom. But if it happens to be the case that Mr. Row choose top and Mrs. Column choose left, then definitely this cell is generated. Okay. Exactly the same way when Mr. Row choose top and Mrs. Column choose right, then this cell will be generated. In that way, these 4 alternative cells are there, for any of those 4 cells can be generated, right. So, if this cell is generated, Mr. Row will get 2, Mrs. Column will get 1. So, a pair of numbers we are indicating or we are mentioning in each cell of this matrix. That pair of numbers, first number is telling that is the payoff of the row person who is there this side, and the second number, that is the payoff to this person who is the person who is in the column side. Okay. So, suppose this is 2 1 1 2, okay, 1 0 0 1. So, suppose this is the payoff structure. Okay. So, how we will read? If Mr. Column choose bottom and Mr. Row choose bottom and Mrs. Column choose right, then this cell will be generated, this red colored cell will be generated. That time Mr. Row will get 0 and Mrs. Column will get 1. Okay. And this rationality, what I told, no, everybody judiciously, quite purposefully deciding his or her strategy. Out of this, Mr. Column Row has 2 strategy, top or bottom. I will choose very purposefully, very judiciously one of them. Exactly similar for Mrs. Column, right. And when we are telling that everybody is rational, so I will, as a rational agent, I will bother only what I am going to get. I will not bother when I am going to get, what my rival or with whom I am competing, what he or she is going to get, I do not care. So, more specifically, what I am rationality, what I am telling here, this feature is basically we are assuming for simplicity that nobody has any sadistic pleasure, that we are assuming. Why that is important? In real life I can make, so that real life, no, sometimes people decide on the basis of that also, right. I will get more a little bit, I have a choice, somebody is giving, say telling that, okay, say government is telling that I will give you 10 rupee, I will give your neighbor also 10 rupee. Okay. So, both we are happy. Tomorrow government is telling that I will give you not 10 rupee, 20 rupee, rather, and I will give your neighbor as 30 rupee. So, I am getting from 10 to 20, I should be happy, right. But perhaps I will not be that much happy knowing that, oh, government is giving me to only double, but my neighbor 3 times. Okay. So, that sometimes happen in real life. Okay. So, we are not considering that thing. Okay. So, when I am getting more, that is my target. If I get more, I will choose that only. Okay. That is everybody's, that is the decision. Okay. Sadistic pleasure, no, there is an excellent joke, right. Say one person is praying for some god, right, and then God came, okay, and tell botso bolo kya chahiye. So, that person is telling and that God is telling, whatever I will give, okay, I will give double of that to your neighbor. Okay. And that time this person, no, is telling that God, you spoil one eye of mine. Okay. So, that kind of pleasure none of these people have, that we are assuming. Okay. But by rationality we are ruling out that kind of possibility. Okay. So, now you understand that, look at here, now we will introduce one and this payoff structure, no, if top left, I choose a row choose top and column choose left, then this cell will be generated, then row will get 2 and column will get 1. So, in that way all these pair of numbers, no, here 2 1, here 1 0, here 1 2, here 0 1, all these pair of numbers, no, everybody knows, Mr. Row also know, Mrs. Column also know. So, everybody know that what I will get if some cell is realized, and parallelly what the other person also will get, everybody knows those information. That is why it is called full information kind of game, right. Okay. So, now let us introduce one concept called dominant strategy. Dominant strategy. What is that dominant strategy? Look here, Mr. Row has a dominant strategy top. What is the dominant strategy? Okay, Mr. Row knows that what Mr. Row is going to get, that does not solely depend on Mr. Row's choice. It depends on Mrs. Column's choice also, whether Mrs. Column is going to choose left or right. That also has some implication over Mr. Row's ultimate payoff, what he is going to get, right. But irrespective of the fact that what Mrs. Column is going to choose, Mr. Row can get always better if he choose top. Look, if Mrs. Column choose left, that time is Mr. Row choose top, he will get 2, alternatively Mr. Row choose bottom, he will get 1. So, these two numbers he is comparing, because the pair of numbers, first number always going to this person, no, and second number to this person, right. Okay. Look at here, alternatively if Mrs. Column choose right, in that case also if Mr. Row choose top, he will get 1, if Mr. Row choose bottom, he will get 0. So, the pair of numbers what we put here, right, Mr. Row is saying that yes, my payoff what I will get, that is uncertain, and that depends on what the other party is going to choose. But irrespective of the other party's choice, it is always better for me to choose top. If I choose top, I will get more than by choosing bottom, which is the other alternative available before me. Okay. Exactly same way, look at here Mrs. Column. Mrs. Column will compare these two number and these two number. Okay, this green color, these two number and these two number. Mrs. Column is looking at, again Mrs. Column's payoff is uncertain, depends on actually what Mr. Row is going to choose. But does not matter what Mr. Row is going to choose, if Mrs. Column choose left, she will get always better. Why? Look, when Mr. Row is going to choose top, in that case if Mrs. Column choose left, she will get 1, if Mrs. Column choose right, she will get 0. So, she is getting more by choosing left. Alternatively, when Row is going to choose bottom, that time also if Column choose left, she will get 2, if Column choose right, she will get 1. So, irrespective of what Mr. Row is going to choose, if Mrs. Column choose left, she will get always more than by what she could get by alternatively choosing the right, the other option what is available to her. So, we are introducing here one peculiar game where both row and column, the two parties, each of them have a dominant strategy. So, what is the definition of dominant strategy? Dominant strategy is out of the alternative options or strategies available to a player, okay, one strategy which gives always more than by choosing any other strategies what is available to that player, irrespective of what is the choice of the other party or other player, right. In this particular case, Mr. Row has the top and Mrs. Column has left. These two are dominant strategy. So, that means what? If this kind of game played again and again, today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, again and again this kind of game is played, right. Mr. Row will always choose top and Mrs. Column will always choose left, okay. So, top left will be always the equilibrium in this particular case, okay. So, this is the equilibrium. This equilibrium is called Nash equilibrium also. I think many of you already watched that beautiful movie, no, Beautiful Mind, okay, by Russell Crowe. No, Russell Crowe is the hero in that movie, okay. That is based on the life of this Nash, John Nash, okay, who actually has done lot of works with game theory, okay. Anyway, so that is called Nash equilibrium. So, what is Nash equilibrium definition? I am coming, okay. So, first what we are discussing, if both of the parties, both of the players who are participating in the game, if each of them have a dominant strategy, of course the intersection of these dominant strategies will be a equilibrium. Okay. Equilibrium means every time this party will choose his dominant strategy and this party also will choose her dominant strategy. So, two dominant strategies, what is the interaction or what is the intersection point, that will be the always generated cell, this cell will be generated always. Okay. Now, suppose if I manipulate this game a little bit, suppose game is not this much, rather the payoff structure is this kind. Okay. This as usual, left here, that is Mrs. column side, right here. Okay. This is top, this is bottom. Okay. Okay. And this side Mr. row and that side Mrs. column, right. Suppose this is 2 1 1 2. Okay. Suppose this is the payoff structure. Okay. Now, look at here, if we ask whether Mr. Row has any dominant strategy. Okay. No, let me just change this thing. So, in this particular case, if this is the payoff structure, right, and each of them know what is the payoff structure, who is going to get what, if any of these 4 cells is realized, okay, they know every numbers. Okay. Now, look at here, if we ask whether Mr. Row has a dominant strategy, answer is yes. Look at here, Mr. Row is comparing these 2 numbers, answer is yes, and these 2 numbers. So, does not matter what Mrs. column is going to choose, Mr. Row will get always better if choose top, but whether Mrs. column has any dominant strategy, answer is no. Why? Look at here, when Mr. Row is going to choose top, that time if Mrs. column choose left, she will get less, then choose right, she will get more. Alternatively, when Row is going to choose bottom, that time Mrs. column will get more by choosing left than by choosing right. Okay. So, one case he is getting more here, another case he is getting more here. Okay. So, in this particular case, if this is the game, right, and this is the payoff structure, top is the dominant strategy for Mr. Row, but Mrs. column does not have any dominant strategy. In this particular case, what will be the equilibrium? Look, I know you are rational, you know I am rational. So, although Mrs. column does not have any dominant strategy, Mrs. column know that Mr. Row is rational, and since Mr. Row has a dominant strategy, Mr. Row will choose always the dominant strategy. So, Mr. Row will choose top for sure, that Mrs. column know, because all these numbers are known to everybody. So, Mrs. column can see what are those numbers. Okay. So, Mrs. column will choose accordingly. Mrs. column knows that Mr. Row is going to choose top for sure. So, Mrs. column will choose right, because out of these left and right 2 options, by choosing right she will get more. So, definitely this will be the equilibrium in this particular case. Okay. This is the equilibrium in which sense? That is also a Nash equilibrium. Nash equilibrium actually needs some additional restriction or some specific clause to be satisfied. Okay. I am coming to that Nash equilibrium. Okay. So, in this particular case, what is happening, right? So, if both of the players who are playing have one dominant strategy, so intersection of the dominant strategies will be the equilibrium. If at least one of them have a dominant strategy, then also one single equilibrium will be guaranteed. In this case, one single equilibrium was guaranteed. In this case also single equilibrium is guaranteed, and that single equilibrium is coming through that everybody is rational, and I know you are rational, you know I am rational, in that way. Okay. Let us stop here. We will continue this discussion in the next lecture as well. Okay.